Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Ismail and my student ID is 1401964 and I am going to give the presentation about the climate change impact on tourism industry. This slide gives an overview about the objectives of the study. So, the purpose of this study is to enhance the understanding about the relationship between tourism and the climate change issues among college students, in addition to evaluating the impact of gender on knowledge and perception of climate change issues among college students and its effects on travel behavior change. Using an online survey link and printed questionnaires, data were collected from a randomly selected sample of college, and due to the convenient sampling method, the study found that only gender influenced student knowledge of travel's impact on climate change. In general, climate change knowledge and perception levels cannot be attributed to gender differences. To some extent, university education has an impact on college students' climate change perceptions and understanding of climate change knowledge. Let's look back to theoretical background. So weather and climate are well-known factors that influence tourism. Many forms of tourism depends on natural resources such as rainforest, woods, mountains, river, lakes, beaches, and coastlines, as well as views and weather conditions associated with many of these environments. However, according to the United Nations World Tourist Organization UNWTO 2007 Davos statement, the tourism sector produces roughly 5% of world CO2 emissions and 4.6% of greenhouse gas emissions connected to global warming in terms of radiative forcing. Tourism, transportation, lodging, and activities sectors all contribute significantly to CO2 emissions. Tourist travel selections are largely influenced by destination pictures of sun, beach, sea, or snow, as well as a perception of climatic factors such as temperature, precipitation, and humidity. As a result of changing weather and conditions at the tourist destinations, an increasing number of scholars are studying the climate change on tourism destination activities and tourist behavior in order to effect of climate change on the overall tourist system. Let's look to the statement of problem. Tourist perceptions of environmental change are important to research in tourism, especially for places that are vulnerable to climate change. In the 2020s, the direct influence of changing climate is expected to boost attendance by 6 to 10%. Tourist awareness and views of climate change are influenced by their understanding of the environmental consequences. However, there are inconsistencies in visitors' views about climate change. Tourists in the research showed little understanding of how air travel affects global climate change, even though they are interested in learning more about such as transformation. This is since the value of freedom to travel is ingrained in the thoughts of the frequently traveling visitors who took part in the study. This slide gives an overview about the significance of study. Climate change is a hot topic right now, and it's also a contentious one. Studies on climate change mitigation hurdles, and climate change consequences on tourism. Many tourists dispute skepticism and denial of climate change issues, whereas many tourists debate skepticism and denial of climate change problem. Climate change, on the other hand, has a significant impact on tourism and because of its effect of the viability of tourism sites and activities, as well as the visitor behaviors. Climate is a critical appealing aspect of tourism locations and according to the visitor travel reasons. Meanwhile, climate change can have a significant impact on the attractiveness of tourist locations, such as changes in weather patterns, beach erosion induced by global warming, later bird arrival at bird viewing site, shorter skyling season, and so on. This slide gives an overview about the research design. The assistance in the investigation of the first study question concerns the type of destination features and information that students examine and gather prior to making a destination selection. The second, third, and the fourth research question and the study of the participants' responses to the climate change knowledge and perception scales. Responses to this question were split and examined by sex, which inquires about the general knowledge level of the climate change and if climate change related knowledge and perception differs by sex. The fourth study question, which is addressed in a subsequent part, asks about the elements that impact student thinkings of climate change throughout their tips and comprises 8 questions. In order to obtain data, the convenient sampling approach was utilized. In addition to the time consumption of the survey, which contains information about its aims and how long the survey was projected to take, as the description of the survey. Participants of the study. There are two primary reasons why students were chosen as research participants. To begin with, the student sample is easily available because it is located on campus. Secondly, the number of the student travelers will significantly grow. It should be highlighted, however, that a student sample does not at this time represent the perceptions of the whole population on a worldwide basis. According to the Student and Youth Travel Association, the student population is expected to overtake the public as the most numerous consumer demographic in the worldwide tourism sector. The argument for utilizing a questionnaire rather than question approaches is that it will allow the student from all backgrounds to be investigated equally and randomly distributed survey. So in this slide, we will come to know about the sampling technique used in the study. So for this study, a convenient sample of student was used to assess difference between and within sex group and class level groups. A two-way ANOVA, which is called analysis of variance test, was used. The online questionnaire designs and collection software Qualtrics was used to distribute the questionnaire to the student and gather response for the sample collection. Qualtrics is an online questionnaire design tool that allows you to modify the questionnaire and distribute the questionnaire link to the appropriate participant and email addresses. In this study, there are few benefits to adopting Qualtrics. First, the replies that Qualtrics collect are immediately saved in the Qualtrics account. Second, utilizing Qualtrics might help you avoid receiving duplicate set of replies from a single participant. Participants were required to sign into their student account in order to access and fill out the form, but their usernames and log so Qualtrics can prevent this from happening. Statistical analysis. In total, 83 items are included in this study. A sample size of 381 participants was utilized in the statistical analysis. The participants were asked to rank 10 destination attributes to determine if climate weather is the most important factor to consider during the travel decision-making process. In this section, 75 items relating to climate change knowledge and perceptions were utilized in order to evaluate 45 participants' attitudes towards climate change and tourism. Before statistical analysis, two independent variables in the format of categorical variables were transformed into continuous variables. The result of the statistical analysis conclude, however, in general, gender creates no significant differences of impact on climate change, knowledge, and perceptions. So in conclusion, while the world aggregate number of domestic tourists hardly changes due to climate change, individual countries may face dramatic impacts that grow rapidly over time. Several studies have shown that climate change could negatively affect the countries and regions that depend heavily on the incomes from tourism, and could also bring the benefits to the places that are currently not popular with the tourist. The economic and societal relevance of climate change for tourism will crucially depends on adaptation strategies. This call first of for more detailed studies about economic cost of the climate change and the cost of adoption on local level, and secondly for developing new policy frameworks at a European level and regional level. Thank you so much for your listening and for your attention.